Hi everybody, this is Maureen Wong from YourNextStamp.com. Today I have a project for you, this adorable turkey spinner card, or I guess you can call it a slider card. You can slide it on its track, or you can actually tilt it and spin it. There we go. And I wanted to introduce you to our large slider die set and our mini slider die set today. That's what I'm using for my project. And here are the different sizes. You can see this is the large and this is the mini, and let me get my ruler and I can measure that for you. The straight track of the larger set is 5 inches long and the straight track of the smaller set is 3 1/4 inches long. And it comes with a straight track, a wavy track, and also this circle dies. And the circle dies help make the inside mechanism that helps your image either slide or spin. And you can see they're actually really about the same size for the bigger circles, but the smaller circles are a different size, and that's the important part because they have to fit inside the tracks a certain way. Spinner dies have been around for a really long time, and this just makes it easier to make them. One thing that you can do is make the mechanism with the paper, the circle dies, cutting out heavy cardstock. The heavier the better. You want a little bit of weight to help it spin. What we used to do back in the day, before we had these wonderful things called dies, was use pennies. So we'd use a penny for the front and for the back. And if you really want to do that, you can go ahead and do that. That works as well. But if you don't want to do that, this die makes it perfectly easy to just cut out your heavy cardstock and make your own mechanism. And that's what they're for. So let's get started with the project, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so I want to show you all the materials I'm using today. I went ahead and skipped some steps because I don't think you need to see me coloring images or actually running things through my die cut machine so you can see how that works, because by now you probably already know how that works. And if you don't, we have some other videos that will show you how to run things through your die cutting machine. So what I did was I went ahead and stamped from the new Gobble Gobble set. I stamped and fussy cut out with a little white border this turkey, and he is colored with Prismacolor colored pencils. I'll have the list of pencil numbers that I used at the end of the video. I also went ahead and ran my circle die from the large slider die set through the die cut machine twice with a heavy cardstock. So you can see I have 4 big circles and 4 small circles. I also have this piece of craft foam, which is 5 3/4 inches long by 3 inches high. I have 2 panels that are the same size as that, 5 3/4 by 3 inches high. One for the inside, which I've already decorated. And then this part is where the slider goes. And I've already die cut the wavy track from my piece of paper, and I also stamped Happy Thanksgiving at the bottom. And then we have this matting piece, which is 6 inches by 3 1/4. And I have a card base of cream cardstock. This is heavyweight. You really should use a heavy weight because all of the slider elements on the card are going to kind of weigh it down. So if you have a lightweight cardstock, it's going to get kind of floppy and hard to play with. So I have a folded card base that is the same size as the matting paper, which is 6 inches by 3 1/4 inches. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare my fun foam. Now this is just the way that I do it. I know a lot of people, when they make things like shaker cards and slider or spinner cards, they use foam tape to get the height that they want. I find it much easier to just use craft foam because it gives a nice even surface, and it's really easy to cut. This I cut on my paper trimmer, and then I'm going to show you how I cut the track out with just a craft knife. So let me move all this aside. I can't cut on my Ranger mat, so I'm going to have to move my mat out of the way. And here is my glass cutting mat. So what I'm going to do is, let me move this off my foam. Oops. Actually, first what we can do is prepare the circles, because I'm going to be gluing them together. So let's glue them together now, and then they'll be dry by the time I'm ready to use them. So let me zoom in a little bit. Now what I'm using is tacky glue. You want a really good strong glue for this because you don't want it to fall apart while you're playing with it or while your recipient is playing with it. So I choose tacky glue. Other liquid glues will work. I'm not sure about things like tape runners, how strong they are, but you can give it a try and see if it works for you. So what I'm going to do is just glue all 4 of my small circles together. So just one on top of the other. And of course, in the beginning, it's going to be sliding around because the glue is still wet, but just fiddle with it and you'll get it to work. And then of course, I can always even the whole thing out after I'm done gluing all 4 of them together. And I'm going to squash those together to make sure they're flat. And then I'm going to run them through my fingers to make sure they're all even. And it's kind of a mess right now. I've got glue all over the place, but I've got it evened up, and I'm just going to let this sit on the side to dry. Then with the 4 larger circles, you're not going to glue them all together. You're just going to glue 2 together at a time. So we're going to put these 2 together. Sorry, I've got glue all over my fingers now. And these 2 together. So what we're making is the 4 pieces together go inside the track, and here I'll show you that. And it doesn't really matter if this gets all glued up and messy because it's all going to be hidden anyway. But you see, this little piece of 4 goes inside the track, and then the 2 bigger circles go on the front or back of the image and then glued to that center portion, and then this one goes on the back of that. So you have a little sandwich with the small circles in the middle going along the track. Okay, so I can put those aside to dry. And then I can work on my foam now. Oops, got some glue still on my fingers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the piece with the already cut out track, and I'm going to put it onto my foam piece. And you can see I've cut my foam piece almost exactly the same size. So if you want, you can use any color craft foam really for this. You're not going to really see it except on the edges, but if you mind people seeing on the edges that it's a color that doesn't match, then go ahead and pick a color that you want that matches some element of your project. The craft stores have tons of different colors of this craft foam. I believe this is the thinner one, the 2mm. They also have a thicker one that's 3mm thick. And for this, I'm just using the 2mm because it doesn't need a really fat backing for it to be able to spin. Okay, so what I'm going to do is line this up, and then I'm going to take a pencil and trace the inside of the track. And if you have a lighter colored craft foam, you can see the pencil lines easier. If you can't see them, go ahead and use a pen, but be careful not to get the pen on the side of the tracks because that's going to be a little ugly. There you can see I have my track line. Now I'm going to get my craft knife, and I'm not going to cut exactly on that line. I'm sorry, I had an out-of-brain experience just now, and I did my cutting a little bit wrong, so I'm retaping this to show you the correct way to do it. How I did it before was I just cut the spinner track exactly according to the paper template, the front paper, and that is not correct. If you do it this way, it's not going to work. So what you're going to do is you're going to want to take your big circle. Let me go back and start this again. You would go in, put your paper on top of your foam, and trace with a pencil exactly where your track is. Then what you're going to do is cut out the track, but instead of cutting it exactly like I did here, you're going to take one of those big circle discs and cut a little extra so that it's as fat as the disc. Because what you're going to want to do is have the large disc spinning inside of the foam. So I hope that makes sense. I'm going to cut this a little larger than the track all the way around. I don't want to cut it too much because then the track won't give good support to the track, but I want to cut enough so that the large disc can spin inside the track freely. And I'm kind of following along the same curves, but I'm giving it a lot more room. And so when I check, yes, my large disc can spin freely throughout the whole card. Okay, now I'm going to take my glossy accents and I'm going to go right around the outside of the track to make sure that stays put, and then also along the edges. So you just line up the edges, and you don't have to worry about the foam showing behind the track because you cut it larger, so it's not going to show. And you can see when I turn it over how much larger the opening in the foam is than the opening of the track. And the reason why you do that is we're going to take this, and why don't I just go ahead and use my glossy accent since I have it out. I'm going to put a little bit of glossy accents in the center of the large disc, and then I'm going to take my pile of 4 and put that there. And you want to make sure this is as centered as you can get it. And that will make for a nice even spin. Okay, like that. Now I'm going to just give that a moment to dry. Glossy accents dries really fast, faster than the tacky glue, so you don't have to let it sit as long. And in fact, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, if you want to go ahead and use your glossy accents to glue all these layers together, that would probably work out really well. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this base piece that has the center portion, and we're going to put it into the back, and so we have it there. And then I'm going to put some glossy accents on that. And then I'm going to top it with the other disc. And you want to make sure that is centered over the other disc so that they're lined up correctly. And that glossy accents is already drying, and I can run this mechanism through the track and I can see how it's not touching the foam. So that's going to work very well. And now the final bit is to get some more glossy accents. Put it on the topper part of the mechanism, and we want to adhere our turkey, and you want to kind of try and center that as well so that he has a good spin. And then we can go ahead and test it by tilting it and seeing if it works. And sure enough, it spins. So we're going to get our card base, and I have this piece of 6" by 3 1/4" paper that I'm going to adhere to my card base with my ATG gun. Oops. Let me put that on the side, and I'm going to put that down. And then I'm going to adhere, and I'm going to use the glossy accents again here because I'm gluing the craft foam to the paper. Actually, let me zoom out a little bit so you can see that better. And again, I'm going to put it all along the edges of the track and the outsides. Okay, and then I'm going to stick that down centered on the card front. And I just wanted to tell you one thing. If your object isn't spinning or sliding very nicely, that might just be because your glue is a little bit wet still, so it's catching it. Once it's completely dry, it should spin perfectly. And then I'm going to finish off with my inside piece. Again, just with my ATG gun. This is just paper on paper. Okay, make sure it's on the correct way. Okay, and I just wanted to show you what I did here with that very same stamp set. Let me show you that again. I stamped in olive green ink the Gobble Gobble Till You Wobble sentiment. That's right here. And then to match the outside, I went ahead and stamped the turkey. And I actually used a dark brown ink, so what I did was I stamped off onto scratch paper once, and then I stamped it the second time without re-inking into my card, and that gave me this really nice light image so that you can see it, but it's not a full image, and you have room to write for your recipient. So let me move this out of the way, and that's your finished card. And one thing that helps while you're spinning it is if you tip it forward a little bit, it helps it to spin a little bit more easily, and you can't really see that when I do it, but there you go. He's spinning, and he spins funny on this wobbly track. So that is how you put together a card, at least my way with the Fun Foam, using our large slider die. And it's going to be the exact same process with the small slider die. I hope you've enjoyed this project, and I will see you next time at yournextstamp.com.